add my leeks to it.
So both sauces are starting out the same way, the red and the white.
Exactly. Thank you, Caroline. Fair to mention that. Now, in the red that I make today, I'll use Chianti wine, and on the white, I'll use a Merlot or something like that. So that's pretty easy. Chardonnay. I use anchovies and everything. So all I'm gonna do is add some anchovies to it. Just gives it a better taste.
The fun part about mussels is that you can pretty much add anything you like in them.
Anything.
You're not going to mess them up as long as you cook and steam the mussels until they're fully open. So whatever you have in the fridge, pancetta, bacon, any extra vegetables that you want to add to it, you can clean out your fridge and add it to your mussel dish.
So
She's like my daughter. She'll keep talking, so that's great.
can we just do an overview of what you guys just did?
Sure, so we started in a hot pan. You always want to start and preheat your pan on the stove. We added in our pure olive oil, and then we added in our minced garlic and our minced shallot or leek. And we're just going to let that simmer and kind of brown a little bit to create that oil. The oil's going to give the base of the sauce a lot of flavor. He added in some red pepper flakes. Again, you can add whatever you'd like. If you like a little kick or if you don't.
Right. But the red pepper flakes, just because of the flavor, it doesn't have to be real hot that you can't stand it. It just gives it a nice little tang to it, which you're supposed to have. All right? So I'm going to put...
And he added anchovy, which I would omit the anchovy if I was cooking them, but that's all right.
Why?
I don't like anchovy.
You wouldn't taste it in here. You really don't taste the anchovy, believe me when I tell you that. It's just... Huh?
All you get is the salt.
Yeah, it's just good. I'm adding parsley now to it.
Fresh parsley just chopped.
Now Lisa prepared, she has capers. I don't use capers. And she ain't here, so I'm not putting them in. So what we're just going to do is let's just let this cook a little bit until that's brown.
So everything's swimming in the olive oil. That's kind of the key here. You don't want just a little bit to coat the bottom of the pan. You want enough so everything swims nice in it, and it creates that aromatics. I'm sure the people with us right now are smelling the garlic and the onion.
And it's, you know, I think cooking is not being scared. I know in my own personal, if I like it, 97% of the other people are going to like it. You know, you always have 2 or 3 people, you know, doesn't like something. So I don't worry about it. I go with my taste. I go with what my mother showed me. So we'll go over again with leeks, you know, or onion sauce.
A lot of people wait until the end to season their dish, but I've learned since I started working for the DeFibo family that they season their base oil, whatever they're cooking in, they season at the beginning because that's going to give you more flavor towards the end instead of just trying to salt at the end and build the flavor right at the end. So this gives you the opportunity to build right from the beginning. So
and my mother used to tell me all the time that each time you put something, you know, add salt and pepper to it. You know, so that's me. You'll see me add a little more salt and pepper. Right now, I added my salt and pepper to my taste as it went down. So what we're going to get ready to do, I'm going to get whole tomatoes. I'm going to crush them.
So those are San Marzano tomatoes. You can use any whole tomato, but we like to crush them by hand here versus using crushed tomatoes. You'll see we'll use a 1-to-1 ratio of crushed to whole tomatoes.
Right. San Marzano, this is really a good tomato. It's got a good taste. Now it has nothing to do with, you know, California. California tomatoes are good, but for some reason I just happen to like that because I'm an Italian. It comes from Italy. Got to keep with the Italys.
Are you crushing them completely, or are you going to leave some chunks?
I leave chunks. As you can see, what I'm trying to do is just let it run through my fingers.
What are you looking for in your pan?
Until it gets brown.
Nice and brown.
Yeah. Don't burn it. You don't want to burn. Like I have this on like a medium heat. So I could probably put it up high, get it done faster, but I just think a medium heat is just nice. You know?
And today we're using our chitara pasta, which is similar to spaghetti. We make it fresh in-house here at the market. It's also on all of our menus at our other locations. So chitara pasta is just a little thicker than spaghetti, gives it a nice base, heavier base versus spaghetti. But you could use linguine, fettuccine, spaghetti, bucatini with this dish, really whatever you prefer. I wouldn't use a short noodle like a rigatoni
See
or
the thickness?
a bow tie or for
My father used to call this the root. So that's what we're going. Using the root.
It's not. Bucatini is my favorite noodle.
Yeah.
But we don't
Now you've
make that.
noticed last week, you know, my daughter, she likes cheese. I have no cheese here.
Is your rule no cheese with seafood?
No cheese.
No cheese with seafood.
Rule for me is no cheese.
So we're just gonna boil the pasta here shortly, and our fresh pasta only takes about 3 to 4 minutes to cook. So it's a way faster cook time than buying dried pasta. And again, you can buy our fresh pasta here at the market daily, which is excellent. We have about 8 different types of noodles now and shapes.
When you're getting ready to use your lemon, if you take the lemon and just put it in your palm of your hand and just rub it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it loosens everything up, and when you go to cut it, a lot of juices come out. Now I use lemon.
Always fresh lemon juice, right? Never
Yes.
the pre-bought stuff.
The bottles, you can use it, but it's more harsh. It's a harsh one.
So it's starting to brown in the pan there.
I'm gonna have my wine in it.
Now, are you cooking out the wine like you would if you were making a risotto, or are you going to let some of that wine flavor stay in there?
No, I'm gonna have a little bit of wine flavor stay in.
And you can use any kind of wine. It can be cheap box wine, you know, any wine you have laying around. If you had an open bottle at home, it doesn't matter when you're cooking. Obviously, you don't want to use a super expensive bottle, but it does add great flavor.
But don't use a junk. You know, use a better wine.
I didn't add the wine.
Because if you don't want to drink it, it
The
shouldn't.
Chianti. So crushed whole tomatoes, and then
I like crushed, and I like the whole. In my red sauce, I'll use a puree. Hey, how are you? I use a puree and a crush when I make my sauce for the restaurant. It's just burning out that wine now.
what else do you put in your red sauce? Are you going to give that one away, or?
Yeah, we'll make that. Listen, my cooking is simple. I mean, I tell anybody my recipe. You know, it's just basic cooking.
So the Chianti wine went in, and then we're going to bring it back up to a simmer to kind of simmer out some of that alcohol content from the wine.
So I'm going to add a little bit of butter now.
What does the butter do?
Butter just thickens it up, makes it more sweeter. My daughter said put artichokes. I don't put artichokes with it, but my daughter asked me to do that. I'll do that.
So we have really nice artichoke hearts that we get in a really great oil. When you buy artichokes, it's really important to find the nicer, I would say spend your money versus buying them in water, because it's going to give you that base flavor to any dish or salad versus just having them in water, and then you're going to have to season them yourself. So we have really nice long stem artichokes that are in a great extra virgin olive oil and some seasoning. So he's just chopping them up.
Let me wait.
But like I said, you can put anything you'd like. Sausage. I love an Asian Thai curry mussels. There's so much that you can do with mussels, and they're relatively inexpensive, which is great for a nice big bowl of seafood when you have company over. You could use the same dish with scallops. Our chiapino is probably very similar to this red sauce here, which just has more seafood in it as well. Clams, really whatever you'd like. Shrimp, salmon. I think they put some swordfish in our chiapino across the street as well. All right. He's just cranking up the heat on this one. There's a lot more liquid here, so we just want it to be at a simmer before we add in our mussels so that they can steam and open up properly. Another one? I'm gonna go grab a spoon.
But I added a little clam juice. All right, so, but. If there's any questions, you guys can all, just jump in and just say something to me. But, oh no, come on, taste it.
Would you ever add parsley or basil at the end
Yes.
instead of the beginning? Oh, you do
Yeah.
that.
What happens, I don't know. I always put it in afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe just cook it a little while because it keeps it strong. You get that taste out of it.
Are there any questions on our live, Kelly, that we can answer?
Not
Not yet? Good?
All right. So that's almost ready. I hope everybody likes hot pepper because that one there, the white's going to have a little more pepper than
I love that.
A little kick?
Had a little kick to it. Sorry about that.
I'll avoid that one then.
You'll avoid it.
Yes.
So it's starting to boil now. So this here, last week, you did it in less than half an hour, 20 minutes. This here, because of this sauce, it takes a little longer. So you just have to bear with me.
Can you overcook a mussel? No?
Mussels are just like clams. When they open up, it's done. I'm sure of this, so we're using.
Gotta get creative in a commercial kitchen sometimes. How long do you think the mussels will take?
About 5 minutes. That's all.
Okay. So heavily salted boiling water. With our fresh pasta, we've noticed that the more water, the better end result you're gonna have, just so that everything can loosen up. And it's really important, instead of just plopping it in there and not moving it, to take some tongs in there and kind of separate it. Because it does act similar to dry pasta, so it's a hard little bundle here that you can see. It's all stuck together. So you want to give it some movement, definitely some salt, and then we'll check back in a few minutes. It's always important to taste as well.
Is it like 4 minutes after it comes to a boil? I'm always confused about that.
Yes, because once you put it in, the oil's gonna go away, right?
So you wait till it boils.
Yes, because you want it to be boiling. If it just sits there too long, just in hot water, it's gonna kind of create that gummy texture and probably stick together. It's not gonna be beautiful pasta. So it's coming back to a boil.
Really and truthfully, you always should pull a couple strands out and taste it. I mean, you could say it's going to take 4 minutes. Sometimes if there's less water, it's different. If there's more water, it's different. So I always just take a strand, chew it.
Throw it against the wall.
Yeah, I don't know where that ever came from.
I was told that if you pull out a strand and pinch it, you can tell.
You could do the same thing, but it's better put in your mouth.
Always.
I mean, you can do
taste.
that. That's telling you the texture of the pasta itself. You know what I mean? But it's better to put it in your mouth, chew it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And you have to
Lisa-
always remember that when you take it out of there, it also it'll cook. You know what I mean? Again.
Lisa wants to know if you're adding cheese.
We're not
No,
adding
no
cheese
cheese.
today.
No cheese.
So we have some fresh basil that he'll add at the end. I always tend to add our fresh basil at the end. Same with our fresh pomodoro sauce. It just kind of gets stirred in after it comes off of the stove. Same with our pizzas. I think we had a pizza class last week, and I think that a lot of people didn't know that we don't put basil on before it goes into the oven. It's just a garnish at the end. If you put it into the oven, it's just going to turn brown, which defeats the beauty of the garnish of basil and the freshness of it as well.
If you don't use fresh herbs, they need to be put in the sauce sooner so that they will soften?
That's a great question. So one of our guests in the store asked if we're using dried herbs versus fresh, when do we add them? So if we're cooking with dried herbs, then the exact opposite. I add them at the beginning and let them develop their flavor and their aromatics as I'm cooking. It's a great question.
Also, remember about dry parsley or dry, right? It goes bad. If it's in your your closet for a year or something like that, it's no good.
So I just tried a piece of our noodles. I'm just going to keep moving them around. They were definitely really al dente, so probably another 2 minutes I'm going to guess here. I'm going to crank up the heat a little bit. Do they look good? And if they never open up, that means it's a bad one, right?
Yes. I went over all these before I even started. They really smell good. We have one right here. Any questions for anything? No? Good. Lisa be answering questions all the time.
She says you both look great.
Huh?
Lisa says you both look great.
We always look good.
No, I didn't understand what you said about if they don't open.
What was that?
I don't understand what you said. They don't open?
So if they don't open, it means you have a bad mussel. It's gonna.
Oh, so you just
you don't
throw
want
it.
to eat it.
Yeah, just take it and throw it away. Just like a clam. Same thing with clams. The clam don't open up after steam, it's no good. You know? What happens is it's the mussel itself holding it together. You know.
Does that affect the rest of them or no?
What is it, hon?
Does that affect the rest of them?
No.
It smells amazing.
Thank you very much. Normally I would be using a higher pan, you know what I mean? But we got this and that's all.
All right, and I do have some fresh crostini. Typically with mussels, you always want a little bread for dipping. So I just took our fresh bread that we get here at the market daily, the same bread that's served in the restaurants. I sliced it up probably about an inch thick, olive oil, salt, pepper, parsley, and I put it into the oven until it was nice and crispy, but not too crispy. Right here, so a nice even thickness, and that'll soak up all the juice in the mussels, which is my favorite part of eating mussels.
Just burn out.
So you don't have to put a lid on the red sauce, or you will?
All right, lid's going on. Those will be on soon. Just done it. So, I think we're wishing we cooked spaghetti. Any more questions out there?
Lisa wants to make sure that you added butter.
We did add butter. There were a lot of questions last week with the puttanesca sauce about the butter. How much do you add? When do I add it? Again, I think Mr. Bob touched on it earlier. You're not going to mess up this dish. So adding a little butter, and by a little bit, I would say we added 2 tablespoons just into our sauce, and that gives it just a wholeness, roundness of flavor, creaminess, and richness to it. And you can do that with any sauce.
If you had clams, you would have done the same thing, right?
Yep, same exact thing. I typically only eat clams in a white sauce, but you definitely can eat them in a red sauce as well.
Yes. Matter of fact, Lisa asked me to take some clams over with her. But
And if you did Fra Diavolo with the red sauce, you just make it hotter and the same sauce.
yes. With clams, instead of just steaming in water, in my family, we take oil, garlic, parsley, and salt and pepper, and actually do it, in the pot instead of just plain water.
Right.
And then just keep tossing. You just keep tossing, and all the oil, garlic, and parsley gets through it. It's really, really, really delicious. Super delicious. I do the same thing with crabs. I clean crabs, you know what I mean? Just like we're going to do crabs and spaghetti. I do crabs like that. Basic oil, garlic, parsley, salt, and pepper. Same identical thing. And then just before maybe when the crab turns red, you know what I mean? Like how, right? I put Old Bay seasoning. And oil, and then a little bit of vinegar at the very end. Same thing. Toss it. Believe me when I tell you, you lick your arms. When the juice is going down your arm, I swear up and down to you, it's delicious. So good.
Last week we talked about saving the pasta water to add to your sauce.
I always do.
Do you do that with your mussels as well?
Yep. Just in case, but I think that we're fine with. It's not done yet. That the root, this pasta here takes. If she's saying it's 4 to 5 minutes, it takes 7 to 8 minutes on the root. It takes it.
Yeah, it's close.
Huh?
It's close. I'm trying to speed things up a little bit, just keep moving it around. It's close.
No, it's not. Yep. I'll have to go against you on that one. So does anybody have any questions? No? No? We're easy today.
Yeah, we need to do a birthday shout out to our fearless leader, Jeff Osias.
That's right. It's his birthday today. Jeff.
Birthday today.
Happy birthday, Jeff.
And then I'd like to ask a favor of all of our viewers. We were just nominated here at the market for the Coastal Style Magazine Best Desserts and Best Takeout in our area, as well as Best Restaurant for our Bethany location across the street. So voting is now open. The link is posted on our Facebook page. So if you could take a minute and vote for us, we would greatly appreciate it. We're super honored to be nominated for that in our first year of business here at the market. Really, really proud of all of our staff and team here to get us there. So hopefully we'll be able to do more stuff like this as the summer comes on. And again, if you have time to go do that, that would be great. We're wrapping up here. The mussels are opening up. I can't believe we're just waiting for our pasta, but it's close.
Would you say it's al dente right now, or?
I think it's almost done, but I love al dente pasta.
Mr. Bob likes it more cooked, right?
Yes. I think it's done. So al dente is typically what we're looking for. Some people like their pasta more cooked. With ravioli, you need to make sure that it's cooked all the way around the edges, as raviolis tends to be a little thicker. We did lose power here like halfway through the demo, so it's taking a little longer. I think you're not getting it right.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it.
And then I'm going to chop up our fresh basil. Do you tear or chop your basil? So I chiffonade my basil, which is to stack and roll your leaves. So I just stacked our fresh basil leaves, and I'm going to roll them like a cigarette, and then run my knife back and forth like this. And this prevents the basil from bruising. So it's a really nice technique to avoid bruising in your basil. You can certainly just tear the leaves off. With our pomodoro, we like a larger basil leaf, so we just simply take them and tear them. You can't do this too far ahead of time because your basil will start to oxidize and bruise, depending on how fresh it is. If you're fortunate enough to have a nice basil plant in the summertime, you can always have fresh basil.
You know where the spoons are at? Can I get
The tasting one?
I mixed them up. I don't want to put
Right there, the blue one.
Okay. If nothing else, it really smells good.
All right, fresh basil is gonna go in. Are you gonna add basil to the white sauce or no?
Yes.
That looks pretty good. So all of our mussels are opened up. We're just waiting on the pasta. Sorry about that.
Excellent.
We're at a nice boil now. And we're almost ready to eat. It's done.
Oh, that really smells good.
It's done, Bob.
I want to tell you something, man. It really smells good.
It looks great.
Ah, I love it, though. I do.
All right, we're gonna take some of our fresh pasta here, right into the bowl. Right in there. And again, I'm not straining my noodles in the sink. I grew up with my mother always straining her noodles right into the sink. Then she would rinse them. Then she'd put olive oil on them. So definitely I've learned a lot working for a very nice Italian family over the past year. I never rinse my noodles. And they go straight from the water into the pot, into whatever your sauce you're putting. The pasta water is a good thing for your sauce. It keeps it nice and thick. And there we have it. So that's our red sauce with our mussels and our white wine sauce with mussels.
All right, so would you like to have some?
So we're just
I'll give
gonna
you
plate it
both
up
tastes.
here and let our guests
All right.
in the store
Okay.
enjoy.
Both?
If you'd like to stop by to Phoebus today, we'll have some mussels in our prepared foods case. Hope to see you there.